it's good for Louisville, but I don't really think it affects me on my thoughts on Ole Miss, though.
Yeah, I think that this is more telling for me on what it means for Louisville. Like I didn't even have that as a gut reaction to worry about it meaning something was up with Ole Miss. If there was a problem with Ole Miss and checks clearing, we would have seen a more bigger group of guys. Like Walter Nolan probably would have been one of the first that would have flipped his commitment to go elsewhere. So I'm not really worried from the Ole Miss angle, like what you just talked about. They brought in a lot of players, so he might have been like a secondary rusher. So why would you go split time with guys when you could go to Louisville, play against some mediocre ass offensive tackles, and have 10 to 12 sacks in 2024? I look though at this whole group, and there's a reason why I wanted to talk about this, Blake. What they've done in the portal is really fantastic.
You mean Louisville or
what Louisville's done?
Correct.
The roster that they've put together through the portal, and we've talked about how sometimes the portal building thing doesn't totally work out, but I think that the group of guys that they have to fill some of the roster holes is going to help them succeed. They're replacing running backs, and they bring in Penny Boone, who rushed for 1,400 yards at Toledo. They need receivers after, Jamari Thrash. I don't know if he declared or not. Let me double check on that. Colin Lacey comes in from South Alabama, who had 1,300 yards and was one of the most productive receivers in the country this past year that nobody talked about. They added two really good tight ends in Jaleel Skinner from Miami, Mark Redmond from San Diego State. But most importantly, I love the fact that Thor Griffith was the guy, the premier player for them.
I knew you were going to go with the Harvard man. I've
been watching this kid for 2 years beat the shit out of the Ivy League interior offensive lineman. He is compact, low to the ground. He could be Jerjon Newton, who was at Illinois for Louisville this upcoming year. He is a monster. He is strong as all hell. And I think that you got him and Tyler Barron, and then they've got another kid on the other edge that I'm blanking on his name that was also really good this past year. So this defense looks phenomenal, and I think that they're going to do serious damage in the ACC in 2024.
They've done really well in the portal. Did you know that they actually have a guy named Blake Ruffin that plays safety they got in the portal? He's 1-0 away from having the same name as me. I agree with everything you just said, Joe. I think it's really good for Louisville. I'm not going to put them above Florida State. I don't think that they run it outside of Florida State because I still think Florida State and even Clemson could come back. I think Clemson would be third in this scenario. Miami's still in there. Look, I know Louisville played for the ACC championship game. I think that they're still going to be good. They're still the contender. But I think for me and watching what Florida State has done, if you're going to be the man, you got to beat the man, Joseph. So for me, I don't fully disagree with what you're saying. I would just pump the brakes just a little bit when it comes to saying that, Louisville would be there. I still think that there might be two teams there because I still think there's two teams more talented than they are. Let me give an example.
Okay.
If Miami on paper is more talented than Louisville, right now.
Yeah.
The only thing that we're questioning is Cristobal. I mean, Cam Ward could go absolutely stupid in a game versus Louisville. Now, I don't know if they play. I hadn't even looked at this schedule. But regardless
they do.
of that, okay, you play Cam Ward. Joe, there's no telling what Cam Ward can do. Now, Cam Ward's really streaky. We talked about him. My point is they are a contender. I just don't I don't know if they're there yet. I know they played for the ACC this year. I get it. Here's one thing I'll say about Louisville, and you picked on me a little bit this year when I said this about them. Dude, they play fast. They play physical. Ron English and the boy. I mean, not Ron English. Brom and the boys got them dudes absolutely going crazy when it comes to how they just play football in general. I do like the culture that's being built at Louisville for sure. Again, contender, yes. Need to see them beat Florida State, and I still think they're not as talented as Miami, but I will give them that they're a contender.
My biggest thing is I don't think it totally matters that they're not going to – it's hard for them to be as talented as Miami and Florida State, the way that they've recruited and built through the portal, all that stuff we've talked about. They're two clearly better, more talented teams. but I think that their roster building has at least put them a slight step back. But the biggest thing here is with a roster in his first year, Jeff Brom put that team together really quickly in his first year and won 10 football games. Now, they got smoked in the ACC championship game and couldn't move the ball. But I think from an in-game coaching standpoint, a preparation standpoint, Brom is one of the best coaches in college football that doesn't get enough recognition and appreciation for what he's capable of doing. So I think as long as he's close and he's within striking distance, he 1000% can show up and beat a team like Miami or a team like Florida State. It does not look like they're playing them this year, so maybe they face them in the ACC championship game. They're good enough to maybe eventually match up with them and play a close football game. I love to remind everybody, when he was at Purdue, he freaking beat Ohio State when he had no reason to. So he's one of those guys that any game, as long as he can put up a fight, he can find a way to win. BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.